Hello guys and welcome to today's daily puzzle. Your piece needs a timeout. Let's get right to it. So what do I see? Well, I see that we have a bishop that can actually give a check in a few ways. Now, clearly I am a proponent of this check. Why? Well, because it leaves the king with only a few options. Either it moves down or it moves up. Now, if it decides to move up, then it is very easy for us, as we can simply move our bishop over here with a attack on the queen, but more importantly a discover check on the king. Combining 1+1, that means that we win their queen. In a similar vein, if they do decide to move over to the left, well, then our rook can simply slide over with a skewer and win the queen that way. Meaning that they are basically forced to move down once our bishop moves over here. And a forced move usually is the way to go. Now, however, it's slightly more tricky what we have to do, as we actually have a pseudo checkmate already. What do I mean with that? Well, if somehow two pieces of ours could occupy this square, we would have checkmate. Because our rook, if it can get there without being able to be captured, that would be checkmate on their king, as the bishop will have the other axis covered. Now, as I just pointed out, all we actually need to do is make sure that our king has these squares covered, the rook has these squares covered, and our bishops have the other squares covered, while the rook also has this square covered. The more clever and noticeable among you might notice that that means that we have to keep our bishop on this diagonal. Now clearly it can't stay where it is now, as that's not achieving enough and preventing our rook from sliding in. It also can't simply move up, because then the king can capture. It also can't move one more up, as then the queen would capture. Same for these two squares, all covered by the queen, meaning that it can either move down or completely opposite sides of the board in the corner. Now, if our bishop moves down, then their queen can simply slide in here and our rook no longer is strong enough. If it moves all the way in the corner, that still applies, and it would result in us losing our bishop and rook, and with just a king and bishop, we can't win the game, resulting in stalemate, meaning that the only viable option if we want to win the game is to move our bishop all the way in the A8 square. Now, what do we do as a follow-up? Well, I just mentioned this square is the winning square, so we can simply move our rook in there. Clearly they are going to capture, and it's very tempting to capture back, but that would result in the king capturing and it being a stalemate. So instead we first have to get the king away from his queen. How can we do that? Well, using the other bishop under support of our king, delivering a check, forcing the king to move. And once the king has moved away to the only viable squares it can go, we have an open path to their queen, putting us in a very strong winning endgame. There we go. Thanks for watching. Please leave a like. If you aren't yet, please consider subscribing, and hopefully see you next time. Bye.